I rented a boat to create this shot in a virtual production studio with Unreal Engine 5, and I'm gonna break down exactly how I did it from start to finish, including all the planning, the setup, and even the things that don't go as planned. But before we dive into details, let's watch the final shot. Okay, now that you've seen the result, let's talk about how we pulled it off. The whole thing was a bit of an adventure. I actually created more scenes than just the one you saw. Later in the video, we're going to watch those not so great scenes and I will explain why they didn't work as expected. But first, let's focus on the first shot and how we made it happen. So, a massive shout out to MGX Production Studio for giving me the opportunity to shoot at their place. They specialize in virtual production and they got these incredible LED panels that allow you to bring digital environments. Now, if you're not familiar with LED technology, let me quickly explain how it works because it's an absolute game changer for filmmakers. Instead of the old school green screens that everyone's used to, you got this giant LED wall, sometimes even with ceilings and floors that can display any environment you can think of in real time. Imagine standing on a stage and behind you, instead of a blank green wall, you got a realistic landscape of a city, forest, or even outer space. These LED walls reflect light, so the lighting on the actors and props looks way more natural compared to green screens. That's why shows like The Mandalorian and numerous other blockbuster films have jumped on this tag. It makes everything more immersive and believable. I had this idea in my head, a post-apocalyptic system. You know, distraught buildings, gritty atmosphere, the whole works. MGX recommended using Unreal Engine 5.1 because it's optimized for their LED panels, so that's where I started. I began by building the landscape in Unreal Engine, and let me tell you, I used free assets online and there's tons of great stuff out there if you know where to look. And I pieced together a mix of textures, props, and buildings to create this dystopian cityscape. The key thing here was balancing visual quality with performance. Since this scene was going to be reflected on the LED panels, I had to be really mindful of the light map density and light complexity. I didn't want to overload the system with too many details, and that's a tricky balance. They also provided me with a sample mesh of their LED screens so I could convert into an end display and use it for preview purposes. It was crucial to keep the frame rate smooth, so I used as few skeletal meshes as possible. Instead, I focused on static meshes and lighting. Speaking of which, I experimented a lot with post-processed materials to get the moody, greenish lighting I was aiming for. I also wanted the environment to feel foggy and desolate. So I found this amazing asset called Easy Fog by William Fosha. I don't know how to pronounce it. Sorry about that. On the marketplace. Not sponsored or anything, but I gotta say, it really added the vibe I was going for. Now, let's talk about the inflatable boat. For the scene, I wanted to create a shot where I'm escaping from people shooting at me while I'm in the Bosphorus, which is a major waterway in Istanbul. The thing is, without physical props in front of the LED screen, you lose the sense of realism and immersion. So I knew I needed something to interact with in the scene, hence the inflatable boat. Inflatable boat is easy to carry. We finally inflated it at the studio and got it set up on the stage. With the LED screen displaying the post-apocalyptic Istanbul behind me, I was ready to start shooting. Now, we only have one main camera and my friend was handling one to get multiple angles. To create the stormy environment you saw in the final shot, we used an air blower to simulate wind. I also added some lighting effects using the LED panels overhead to mimic lighting stripes. We shot from at least 5 different angles and ended up with around 20 takes of me escaping in the boat. It was intense but super fun. Once we had all the live action footage, it was time to jump back into Unreal Engine for the CGI shots. After completing the main level for the LED panels, I wanted to add some extra shots where I'm rowing through the water inside the engine. I found some free assets online, and for the character animations, I found what I needed on Mixamo. They had a perfect rowing animation. The trick here was to maintain immersion, so I deliberately kept the character's face out of the frame, showing a close-up of the character's face without broken the illusion that this was a seamless, real-world plural, shots. Once I had the CGI shots, I moved into DaVinci Resolve for the final edit. I color corrected a little bit, added transitions, threw in some sound effects, and blended the CGI shots with the live action footage. The result, you saw it. Could it be better? Of course, maybe with more physical props, with even more angles, but I still got what I envisioned. But now let's talk about the scenes that didn't go as planned. Like I said earlier, not everything's turned out perfect. Let's watch the footage and I'll explain why we're wrong. So the first issue was pretty obvious. No props in front of the LED screen. Without physical objects for me to interact with, the scene felt flat and disconnected. Then there was the scale problem. You can see that in the beginning the trees are way too large compared to the buildings. That completely throws off the sense of realism. I didn't keep much attention to that while I was making the level. Also because I didn't make the level wide enough. Restricted to a small space, which meant we couldn't use the full 180-degree immersion that the LED panels are known for. All in all, the setup just didn't work out. Huge thanks to MGX Studio for allowing me to shoot this teaser. There's so many ways you can use Unreal Engine 5 with virtual production, whether it's with LED panels, green screens, or even motion capture technology. If you're interested in learning more about these techniques and how to pull off your own virtual production shots, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss my next video. Before you go, click the video on your screen now to dive deeper into Unreal Engine 5 and see more tips and tutorials. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.